Hey, it's Mr. Bass. I want to talk to you a little bit about terminal tackle today. You might be able to tell from all of this that I have quite a lot of experience when it comes to terminal tackle. Organizing it, storing it, utilizing it. In fact, I have probably tried almost every terminal tackle storage option on the planet. And this is just a sample to show you all the many things I have tried before and I've used. So my goal in this video today is to share with you what I think is one of the best options out there for getting the most out of your terminal tackle when you need to downsize, when you don't have a lot of space. So in particular, I'm going to show you what I'm using currently right now to fish in my kayak. I fish kayak tournaments and I fish a lot for fun, and I'm out on the kayak a lot, and there's not much space on the kayak. Trying to maximize storage space is critical, but you've also got to be able to get to all of your terminal tackle quickly and efficiently, and that's another problem on a kayak. You're confined to a very small space. It's very hard to reach around and behind you to get to your crate, to get stuff. So what I don't want is I don't want a bunch of different boxes or items that are filled with terminal tackle, and I don't want something massive. And I've tried that. I have tried the massive the operation, if you will, or the massive solution like this, for example. This has become one of my go-to favorite storage systems. The Battle Box is fantastic. It gives you so many options, and this little design that they've come up with, which is basically just pill bottles. I think they call them ammo cans or something. They're just great, and I love this kind of a system. And I've got two of these that are usually full of stuff that I keep on my boat. And what I've decided over the years is that the Battle Box is an awesome solution if you have tons and tons of space. But when I took the Battle Box out on my kayak, it took up so much space where I could put my other tackle, my baits and my lures, that I thought, man, I got to come up with something more efficient. So that has led me down a wormhole, to say the least. And to tell you the truth, I've done a video on this little guy before. This little Gamakatsu G-Box, I think is what they call it. This is one of my absolute all-time favorite little tackle boxes. And you might think, how in the world does this cover you? Well, it doesn't cover all situations. And in fact, I don't really use this on the kayak much. I usually take this pond fishing, fishing from the bank, that kind of thing. I will use this on the kayak for fun fishing, but if I'm fishing a tournament, this usually does not cover me enough. Where I will use this in a tournament is if I'm fishing somewhere, say up north, where I'm fishing exclusively for smallmouth, and I know that I'm really, for the whole time in the tournament, only going to do a couple of techniques. Maybe a Ned rig, maybe a drop shot, maybe a hair jig. If I know that what I'm going to be fishing is small and contained like that, just a couple of techniques, this kind of option is great. But what do you do when you're going to a place like I'm going to the Mississippi River here in a couple of weeks for the Hobie tournament? What do you do when you've got about 10 different options there? Now, granted, there's a handful that I'm probably going to hone in on, but I need more option. But I don't want a ton of space. I still want to try to keep it. I want to give myself the maximum options when it comes to terminal tackle in the smallest, most compact arena. As I said, through the years, I've tried tons of things. Like this little guy has stuff on the back and the front. That's good for panfish. I've also tried using this just for hooks. Like I had flick, shake, and wacky hooks in here at one time. I don't really use that much anymore. This is one of my favorite boxes as well. And this would be a good kayak box, quite frankly, for terminal tackle. It actually would cover a lot of the bases, and I've used it in the past as well. Put all your hooks on this side, put your sinkers and other items on this side. Not a bad option as well. So then I've kind of expanded to something like this, you know, that has not a ton of space. It's a 3600 size box. That actually is great space. But believe it or not, even though this is compact, it's waterproof, it's got a nice seal, and you've got these individual containers, even though it seems on the surface great, having these little boxes crammed in here really limits the quantity and the amount of stuff you can put in. It actually, all these little boxes, they take up a ton of space. And I have just gotten to the point where I just am not much of a fan of these Plano terminal tackle boxes. I do like the other Plano Edge boxes, but these terminal tackle ones, for me, especially on the kayak, they're not a very good option. Now, if I was on my bass boat where I had lots of room and I could take multiple of these boxes, fine. But I'm talking about kayak today. So a couple of years ago, I started using these Busby boxes for the kayak, for terminal tackle. And these are great. They're modular, so you can pop out a box. You know, if you're not going to use big weights, you can leave that at home, and you can just put a box in, a little tray in that has smaller weights or whatever. There's a lot of options with moving these boxes around, putting in different sizes. It does give you a lot of options, and this has really become what I'd say my second favorite option for kayak fishing. But again, because of these little spaces, you'd be surprised sometimes you still don't have enough room in a box like this. It is waterproof, which is great. Here's another problem with this box on the kayak, which I don't think is a problem on my bass boat at all. These suckers are heavy. Really heavy, and when you load them up with tackle, they're off the charts heavy. But after all the ones I've used through the years, this is my #2 choice for terminal tackle on a kayak. You want to know the goods? You want to know what really works awesome for kayak fishing? I'm going to tell you. Okay, this is kind of disingenuous, because terminal tackle is all about personal preference. It really is. There is no best option out there. I've tried. You saw all the ones at the beginning of this video. I have tried them all, from huge, massive 3,700 deep boxes full of hooks, not a bad solution, to coming up with my own little, off of Amazon, buy these little containers, put all my terminal tackle in those, put them in a deal. I actually kind of like that option. To coming up with specialty boxes, like I have this one, this little Altoids tin, Tokyo and Free Rig is all it is. Why do I do this? Because I don't throw a Tokyo and Free Rig very often. I don't want to tie up my regular tackle box, but having a little box like this is kind of fun. But I digress. Again, what I'm really getting at is, I'm going to tell you what my favorite is. You might hate it, and if you do, that's fine. There's no problem. Knock yourself out. Go get something else. Go find something that you love. Some of you guys don't even care, but I care a lot about tackle organization. I care about being organized on the water. So this stuff really is a big deal to me. So, without further ado, what's my favorite box? It might surprise you. It might not, but it might. My favorite box is a plain Jane, simple terminal tackle box that you can buy at any tackle store. This is a Falcon box. Plano makes one that I use all the time and I love. I started using these years and years ago, and then when the Fluke Master was just starting his channel, I watched him from day one, and he did a video on how to improve terminal tackle boxes. These boxes have a lot of advantages, but one disadvantage is they're not waterproof. They're not watertight, so you got to keep that in mind. And even though the lid comes down to the top of the compartments, stuff still shifts from compartment to compartment. You never have that problem with this box. You can put it upside down, you can shake it any way you want. The contents stay in each little cube, each little container. They never move around or shift around. That's awesome. But with these kind, they move around like crazy. So his suggestion, which is a really good suggestion, is you get this kind of like foam shelf liner that normally goes in like a kitchen cabinet, and some 3M spray glue, and you cut out a piece on your lid and glue it to your lid, and that gives you a seal just snug enough that when you lock this down, your contents will stay where they belong. Pretty darn smart idea. Thanks, Fluke Master, for that idea. I've used it on a lot of boxes over the years, and it's fantastic. But why do I love this box? Why, after trying Plano and Busby and Bass Mafia terminal coffins and Gamakatsu boxes, after trying all this stuff, why have I gone back to the old tried and true? Couple of reasons. One is size. It's very compact, and compact is critical on a kayak. Two, it has 3 latches on each side. The lid is never going to pop open on me. Next reason, it has an unbelievable amount of space for such a little box. And they have pre-marked little imprints that'll tell you like size 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, 5/0. Look, I've got all my hooks here from size 1/0 up to 5/0. Now I do combine them, so like all my EWG hooks and my worm hooks and my flipping hooks all go in the same compartment, but that's just part of strategizing to eliminate the amount of space that I take up. This box is really fantastic. And I'm actually going to show you, for you nerds that want to see what's in my box, I'm going to show you. Now, unfortunately, it still sometimes is not quite large enough. It is large enough if I just want to dump tons of crap in here, but I like organization and I want to be able to find stuff quickly. So when I use this box, I still have to have a second box. And you might say, well, geez, I thought you were going to... Well, sorry. This is the solution I've come up with. It works for me. Almost all of my tackle, terminal tackle, goes in this single box with one exception. My bullet weights. For my Texas rigs, they go in this groove box. And I've got a separate video on this groove box if you want to see it. It's fantastic. This is an excellent little box, and it only holds my bullet weights. So this combined with this is my complete terminal tackle system for when I'm out on the kayak, and I absolutely love it. All right, let's take a look at what I've got in this box. Starting up here in this compartment, this is all my nail weights, and I use a lot of nail weights. Worms, Nico rigs, I have all kinds of things that I use nail weights for. Okay, this is the bead compartment, and it's more than just beads. It's kind of my Carolina rig compartment as well. I've got beads, I've got clackers, I've got these great little, I don't know what you call these, but these are great for mojo rigs. It has a little slot in it right here. You take pliers, just give it a good pinch, and it opens up and slides up and down your line, and it works great for mojo rigs or modified finesse Carolina rigs. In here I have my pegs, and below my pegs, sometimes you got to double up for space. These are my O-rings that I use for wacky rigging.
Okay. Over here, I've also got two things in this compartment. I've got basically worm rattles, glass rattles that I use for my worms, and I also keep my speed clips in here that I use for my crankbaits. I used to keep them in with the swivels, but it's too hard to dig them out and find them when they're mixed in with the swivels. Here's all my swivels, just a few examples. But when I put the speed clips in with the rattles, no problem. They're easy to differentiate. All right, because I'm going to be throwing a Ned rig a lot, and I do throw the Ned rig a lot in the kayak, I've got a lot of Ned rig heads, jig heads in here. So these are straight shank that are kind of what I'd call my heavier ones for this. I'm not fishing really deep, so I'm not going to go super heavy. Over here, I've got some lighter ones in this compartment. You kind of see that. Here I have lighter EWG style Ned rigs. I really love those. And then here's some heavier EWG ones in here. This also serves as a dual compartment. It has swim bait heads, jig heads. I'm only taking one size with me. Actually, I will carry a couple of other sizes in case I need them, but I'm not going to keep them in here. They'll just be in a package in case I need a bigger size. Below here, I have some shaky heads, jig heads. And I don't throw a shaky head much. That's why they're down below. This compartment here is all Carolina rig. I've got Carolina rig weights, and then I have some of these pre-rigged Carolina deals that are actually kind of convenient at times. Then we go to the hooks, and like I said, I got 5/0, 4/0, 3/0, 2/0, and I have every different type. So I've got worm hooks in here, and then I have EWGs, and I have flipping hooks, all in the same compartment. Same with all these. The only thing different I have here is I have some Nico hooks in here, along with, I also combine my trailer hooks for spinner baits and stuff like that in with the Nico rig hooks, and I do have some smaller 1/0 finesse hooks in the event that I use them, but normally I don't throw those much at all. So that's everything I'm going to need on tournament day in my kayak. This is going to cover me. I'm literally not going to have any problems coupled with my little Groove Fishing bullet weight box. This, in my opinion, is really a perfect combination. Okay, does this surprise you? What do you think of this? There are definitely some downsides. It is a little small for some people, but for me, small is better, especially on a kayak. It's not waterproof. That's a problem. But I'm willing to take the gamble on that. I'm very careful about my stuff. If it does get wet, I'll dry it out quickly. Shouldn't be a problem. I would love to know what you use. What works best for you when it comes to terminal tackle solutions on the kayak? This also is a great co-angler box. I have a co-angler video where I show my favorite co-angler bag, and I'm pretty sure in that video I'm using this box. I did it several years ago, going off memory. I'll put that here if you want to take a look at that. It does, in my opinion, make a great co-angler box as well. And of course, it's not bad for fishing from the bank either. But if you have the luxury of fishing off of a 21-foot bass boat, this is probably a little too small. Think about something where you can carry a lot more stuff if you so desire. My choice, as of right now, 2023, is the Battle Box. I love this bad boy. I hope this was helpful and informative. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it when you share the videos with other people. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, this is Mr. Bass. Happy fishing!